Good morning. No, it is not your imagination. I am streaming from my phone because when I decided to do this, the computer has decided to do some major updating. It is right behind us. I'm watching it update as we speak, you know. And I was like, right when I was getting ready to stream. But see, that falls in line with the year 2025. I swear, I think it's trying to kill us. So anyway, we're going to start some wrestling talks along with the comic book talk and the pop culture talk on this because wrestling has finally gotten to the point where I am interested again. Hey, the comic collector is up. Great to see you, right? So I watched the Elimination Chamber last night, and just for a background, good morning. How's everybody doing? I'm coming at you on a brisk March 2nd of 2025 on a Sunday morning. It is 9:38. Yes, there's a cat taking a bath in the back. That's the kind of channel we have here, a lot of racy stuff. And outside it is 21 degrees. And as I'm speaking to you, I'm going to let you know where I've been for 2 weeks and stuff, right? As we are talking, as we are speaking, I don't know if they're connected, but if you watch my last live show with Josh, Josh said, I'm going to have you read Tom King Strange Adventures, his Adam Strange story. And after I finished it and was disgusted with it, I ended up getting COVID. So as I speak to you, I think I am on the downhill aspect of COVID. So that's where I've been. If you follow me on Instagram, if you follow me here on YouTube, and if you know a few things like that, that's where I've been. I've been recovering from COVID. Also, to go along with the poor pitiful me stories and stuff like that, where we live in the Appalachian Mountains here, you grow up with certain things that we're a lot more self-reliant. You get hit with new weather. You just kind of go out here and you just do. You know, the blizzards will hit, snow will hit. We're in higher elevations, even though we're in the beginning of what people call the South of, and in America, the South and the Appalachian Mountains, two different beasts. That's one of the things you get to know, right? So what has happened around here is January tried to kill us. February said, hold my beer. So we've had more flooding in the area. And then we had the electricity go out. And now we have, like I said, 21 degrees outside and stuff still going into March and stuff, right? On top of this COVID that I got, right? So yeah, that's where I've been. That's what's going on. And just the fact that we now have a computer that is deciding to do some major updates this morning. Once I get started on this, I'm like, of course, you know. So hope everybody is doing fine. I'm glad that everybody is popping in here and joining me this Sunday morning. So what we're going to talk about this morning is I'm going to talk a little bit about wrestling. I'm going to tell you why I'm never going to read anything by Tom King again. Yeah, see where we go from there. So put in your comments and stuff, and let's get in there and let you know there's a few things coming, right? So one of the things that's I think is going to be coming to this channel, because I've had the guy on Facebook, is a person named Ben Dunn. That's his handle on Facebook. And Ben Dunn is the guy that is with Antarctic Press, Antarctic Comics, and he did a shout out of nowhere saying if there are any YouTubers out there / influencers. I'm not an influencer, but I do have a YouTube channel, as you can see. And he sent me a PDF. And so I guess I want to, once I'm over this COVID, I'm going to open up the PDF, and I think I'm getting materials from Antarctic Press, I guess is what they're called. I'll be more informed once this COVID brain is gone. And I guess I get to do reviews of stuff. And if you see my review, I get credit in the actual comic, from what I understand, right? So he sends those out on Fridays. I already have one sitting in my email. So there's going to be some reviews with PDF files on here that I'll probably do. And we'll see where that goes, see if that's fun to do. The second thing that I'm doing that's going on is I'm getting back into wrestling. Now, my wrestling history is unique because, once again, the stepdad was a wrestling fan. And when he would watch it, I wasn't really interested. And this is going back to like 77, 78, when I was 4, 5, 6 years old. And then something happened, I think around 79. I had a bully. The bully beat me up. I'm like 6. He sits me down in front of the television on a Saturday morning. It was Georgia Wrestling on a TBS probably, right? And I started seeing this show that morning, like 9 in the morning, was showing a wrestler named Kevin Sullivan, who apparently was a huge baby face, and he was turning heel. Now, the terms baby face and heel, we didn't know back in the day, but it was a good guy. And this guy was like choir boy, good guy. He came out with a bandana tied around his head. He was growing some facial hair, and he was messing with the referee and getting the fans all up and stuff. And then he'd get in there and he beat the crap out of this guy. And everybody was shocked. It was a good guy turning into a bad guy. And then they showed some clips from a stadium show in an arena where the Freebirds had the Freebird cream, and they blinded the junkyard dog, those dastardly Freebirds or something. So this might be around more like 1980. Maybe I got it, 79, 80, And I walked outside and I went, oh, I get it. And I went across the trailer park and I beat the shit out of Paul White, the guy that was my bully. I don't know. Seeing a good guy be able to act bad did something in my head, right? So I was like, okay, I beat the shit out of him. Was a wrestling fan from there on out and everything. And then probably around the 2000s, it just was pretty bad. And one of the many, many things. Oh, we got the comment of the day. If only there was a vaccine for Tom King's writing. Yes, I agree. So, hello, good morning, comment collector. Paulo Costa. We have confirmation Tom King makes you sick. Yeah, we had a control group. I read other things, and then I read this, and it was like next day, if not the same day. Yes, and we have Shiva and Lester here, guys, on the show. Great to see everybody. Good morning. I wonder where John's at. Okay. So we'll get to the Tom King stuff in just a minute. But here in the States and stuff, but anyway, in the 2000s, it was sort of vindication because in the 80s, wrestling did, and I still think it does a little bit, nowhere near like it is. It's definitely mainstream with everybody, all the bunch of the wrestlers getting into the movies and stuff like that. But yes, in the 80s, people looked down on you if you watched wrestling, even though almost everybody was a closet fan of wrestling. You had TBS at 6:05 Saturday nights. That's your wrestling. You had Sunday mornings with, or at least down where I was at, Sunday mornings is where you got to watch your WWF for an hour. And then you rented a lot of that stuff as the 80s went on when it came to the WrestleManias and everything. And you would hear about the Starcades. And you have just to wait and see the clips and stuff. And then you had all sort of regional things, like around here you had Mid-Atlantic, and then every now and then you would get some Memphis every couple of years, and stations would pick it up, drop it, pick it up, and then sometimes you would hear about wrestling being on at 1 or 2 at the night, stuff like that. Mid-Atlantic wrestling was the one that I really liked. You know what I mean? Because like you could hear, that was the wrestling that was like, it was grainy, it was raw. You could hear the mat smashing. It actually had people, where you had your Saturday night wrestling on TBS. Same company, same people, but it was like a studio show. So you had like 4 or 5 rows of people on one side, and they would have the announcers over there, and wasn't as exciting unless the Midnight Express came up, and you had Bobby getting on that turnbuckle, that top turnbuckle, and he would have to move a light so he could do his big, dive on the people. Yeah. So there you go. And that was the stigma right here. Wrestling's just soap opera for rednecks with working class. So you get to the 2000s, ECW was gone. WCW was gone. They were trying to fit all these wrestlers in. And then the crowds, Vince McMahon was sort of, you could tell he was trolling people a little bit. I was one of the people that was just kind of sick of John Cena. I remember when John Cena came out against Kurt Angle that first night as what was the ultimate alpha male or something, whatever his gimmick was. Anyway, and I was like, this guy make a good heel, is what I thought. I thought he'd be a good bad guy. And of course, he did the hip hop thing, which I thought was like, oh my God, he's Marky Mark in the Funky Bunch. And I was just like, what is going on? I didn't get the CM Punk thing. So I would check in every now and then. I really dropped that about 2005, 2006. Up until then, at my house, the 90s and the 80s, we'd go to people's house and we would have big pay-per-view parties. We had the guy that I worked for in the 90s had one of those illegal black boxes, so we never had to pay for them. I had VHS tapes up until about 2010 of all these things. And then at my house, we would get the WrestleMania pay-per-views, have a bunch of people come over. My son was there. Everybody would bring dip. I'd make pizza rolls. We'd play video games until it actually started. It was a party. It was great things and stuff, right? And then, like I said, by about 2006 and 7, I was out and I would check out things. Now, where I would sit there and travel for work up until about 2 years ago, I'm so glad that's over and stuff. I would end up in hotel rooms, and I got to watch a little AEW. I actually watched that first show. I got to watch CM Punk go against Darby Allin, which I thought was a good match. And I've seen a lot of Tony Storm stuff, but AEW is unwatchable in my opinion. But it's got some sprinkles of some good stuff here and there. They just never go anywhere. The Tony Storm stuff, the timeless Tony Storm stuff, cracks me up. I love it, even though I know it doesn't make sense. And that's it. That's all I can really get out of AEW and stuff, right? So then the last 2 or 3 years, I do the WrestleMania thing. I will watch the Rumble on Peacock, and then I don't really watch any other shows. And then we have the Elimination Chamber, and then it leads into WrestleMania. And last night at the Elimination Chamber, as I sat here still recovering from the COVID and stuff, I actually got to the edge of my seat. They finally swerved me. They got me. If you watch the match in the Elimination Chamber, John Cena has come back on his retirement tour, Mr. Peacemaker, which I think he does a great job as a peacemaker. My wife has a movie with John Cena in it she loves where everybody's trying to track down their kids on prom night. It's kind of raunchy. And then John Cena has a scene where he makes eye contact with a guy during the fellatio. It's the whole thing. And, it kind of cracked me up. Saw other sides of John Cena, but I was there like John Cena should turn heel. It never really happened. So last night I'm sitting here, I'm watching the Elimination Chamber. I'm making burgers for my wife as she's driving home and things like that, having, a little dinner ready for her and stuff. She's been negative for COVID. I feel like I'm negative for COVID, but once you have COVID, the next month you can test positive even if you don't have it, whatever, is what they say. So anyway, I'm sitting here and I'm watching this and I'm like, I wished I felt better. And then by the time the men's Elimination Chamber came up, I was like, feeling a little bit better. I was kind of getting into it. I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. They're telling some good stories here and everything, right? And then I was like, wait a minute. So as you watch the match, they had a lot of pretty good things there. You had Seth Rollins, you had Drew McIntyre, Logan Paul. I get a kick out of seeing Logan Paul on there because I don't see Logan Paul. I see Johnny from Cobra Kai. Don't ask me why, it's where my mind goes and stuff, right? Cracks me up. And then there's John Cena there. And I knew Cena was going to win. One of the things with Cena, like I said, he was one of the reasons I kind of got out of wrestling is it is a bit predictable. But how he won was not, I did not see that coming. And basically what happened was Seth Rollins got pinned. And it was CM Punk and it was John Cena. And during the match, they hugged, so mutual respect. And then you could see them mouthing each other. And then they were like beating the hell out of each other. And long story short, Seth Rollins, even though he has been eliminated, runs up and sort of does this. Punk gets tripped up and he's like laying on that middle rope, possibly the bottom rope. And Seth Rollins jumps over there and he curb stomps his head in there. And then I see John Cena run over there and grab him and drag him in the ring, for the pin, or maybe that was, I think, or go for a pin. And right there, I was sort of like, what? That's a heel move. Nowhere in my mind did I think John Cena was going heel, but I'm like, that's a heel move, and I'm like, oh, whatever John wants, John gets and stuff is what I was thinking. Right. And then long story short, John Cena wins. Out comes The Rock acting really weird, like he's some kind of weird godfather. I really haven't been following him, Black Adam, but I'm laughing because it's Black Adam and Peacemaker in the same ring. Ha ha ha, Justy Rhodes, the American Nightmare and everything. And he comes out and there's some guy, Travis Scott or something there walking. And I think he's like blowing a blunt or smoking a blunt. Might as well just be blowing The Rock as far as I'm concerned. I grew up in that culture where everybody was smoking pot and stuff, man. I have seen there's nothing cool about it, man. But each his own, you know what I'm saying? You need to relax, do what you got to do. So I'm just sitting there and I'm like, where's this going? And then Cody drops an F-bomb. Brock is like, I want your soul. Are you going to work for me? I thought he was going to make him kiss his ring. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And then all John Cena's sitting there just, being John Cena, just sitting there like, yeah, Cody, yeah, Cody, all right, let's go and all this stuff, right? And I'm like, something's going to happen here. No idea what it was. And for the first time in probably 20 years, they got me. Um, all of a sudden, John Cena is like, Cody's got his back, and you see The Rock just sit here and he gives this, tells him to do this, and you see John Cena's face just go stone, like like the Avenger from Justice Incorporated. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden we get heel Cena, and I'm like, we should have got this fucking 20 years ago. And I'm like, finally, because Vince, you got to remember, John Cena would come out, even though he was the heel and the little kids loved him. It was the biggest thing since Hulkamania, where you had said your prayers and took your vitamins, and everything like that. He was getting booed. He was being a heel and getting booed. And everybody was like, just turn him heel, go with it. And they finally did it. And I think we're going to see that that's what they should have done 20 years ago. Vince just trolled everybody. I'll give you what you want. I'm not going to give you what you want. I'll give you what you deserve, or whatever it was. Right. So, yeah, last night I was like, I'm back. I'm in. We are on the road to a WrestleMania that I haven't really, there's been very few WrestleManias that felt epic and big like they did when it was Hulk Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant, and so on and so forth. And it's not nostalgia. It's not being stuck in the past. You know what I mean? WrestleMania was an event, so good stuff, man. Good stuff. And it's pure storytelling. It's the storytelling of it. You know what I'm saying? It's Paolo got to say about this. I remember when Turner Classic, TCM Europe tried to have WCW along old movies in the 90s. Hollywood Hogan didn't really do much for me, but then again, the NW storyline got tiresome. NWO storyline, when it started out in May of 96, was revolutionary, and it should have had an ending. That was the problem. No ending to where the NWO was going to go. They should have just turned everything NWO like they were hinting to. They got NWO sold out. They had NWO Monday Night Raw one night teasing the sign as they took over. They should have just took over. All right. If only there was a vaccine for Tom King's writing. We're finally going to get around to that. Yes, Comic Collector. I keep reading that, right? All right. So, yeah. So we're going to have some wrestling talk on this channel now that it's getting good. I don't know if it'll be a regular show, but if you're interested, give me a yell. We'll get on here. We can talk about things and stuff, right? So I'm definitely on the road to WrestleMania. I do not have Netflix. I will not be watching Raw. I check out things on the internet and stuff, right? But John Cena turning heel, fantastic move, great stuff. NWO was the Clone Saga of wrestling. I got some other storylines that I think might be the Clone Saga of wrestling. We'll go with NWO Red. When they went black and red, that's the Clone Saga, because they even had the color red there with Venom there. Good stuff. So yeah, there'll be some wrestling talk. We'll see where it goes. You can pop on here and stuff, right? Okay. So now, as we're just moving right along on my phone, it looks like everything's kind of cool with it. The computer is just gone. It is still just 7% on its second update. We're going to come over here and show you a few things before we got there. I actually found these. I got out a little bit yesterday, had to go to the grocery store. By the time I got home around 3 o'clock, after hauling trash and stuff, I hit this couch and I just could not get up. I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot. I felt horrible, there for a few hours. But as I was out, and I'm hoping these aren't mirrored and stuff, I actually found a bunch of wrestling magazines for $2 a piece I think these go from 86 and 87, which I thought was very cool. I was like, wow, this is just a hint. I think it's wild. I found these for practically nothing. I think this one's from 90. Yeah, it's 1990. Yeah, there's from 93 to 94, I kind of missed out on some wrestling there a little bit because I was like on the road and doing the military thing and stuff, right? Pro Wrestling Illustrated. And here's the one that I was real interested in reading, the Von Erichs. Now, the Von Erichs, we did not have WCCW out of Texas, the Sportatorium around here. We did not have it. Now, the wealthy people who worked in the coal mines and still had their jobs during the layoffs of the early 80s, right around 83, when the Freebirds in Von Erichs was getting hot, But word of mouth from Texas to Virginia, and those people that had the satellites, you would get on the bus, and that feud was so hot. That WCCW was so hot. We heard about the wrestling. Word of mouth. Pete truckers and stuff would come up and be like, "Wow, let me tell you what I watched and what I saw." And then, like I said, the kids would know to ask their dads to see if they can find it on the satellite. Some of them would find it. So that was a feud you heard about, knew it was hot, but we never watched it. I never saw anything Von Erich except for Kevin popping up every now and then on Georgia Championship Wrestling, but they didn't make a big deal who he was. And then, of course, with YouTube and things like that, I found stuff where he was wearing boots. So apparently that's what I was seeing. You weren't at Fort Hood. I was at Fort Leonard Wood, sir. Fort Leonard Wood. Lost in the woods. That is where I was at. Okay. So, yeah. Wrestling was big. We would get outside. Rock and Roll Express was huge. The apartment complex I lived in the mid 80s. We actually had a set of brothers who worshipped the Rock and Roll Express, and we would actually have wrestling matches. And I quit because I threw one kid. I had him up. His brother was coming at me for a drop kick to the face, for real. And I freaked. I thought I was protecting his brother, because I thought he was going to drop kick him in the stomach. And as I kind of threw the kid, he ended up landing on his head, but he was fine. I was a whole like 5'2" probably, you know what I mean? So it's not like we were off the ground or anything like that. So that's why I stopped doing backyard wrestling. And yeah, not only did I take the drop kick, but I got thrown a little bit because I was concerned about throwing his brother, so yeah, things happen. Okay, so what have I been reading? Let's get this Tom King thing out of the way. I think that's what everybody's popped up on, right? I don't understand people that can enjoy Tom King. Usually, seriously, I always preface this stuff. I'm like, hey, if you like this, that's cool. This is not a line in the sand. This is not this or that. If you like it, that's cool. No, I just don't get reading Tom King for some people. Unless you are really into the thing about when I read Tom King, right? There's three ways you read Tom. You're supposed to read things. You can read anything just by the work in front of you, right? Then that work can be a little bit enriched, or it can make more sense, or have a little more subtext to it, or things like that, because you need to know what's going. You can find out what was going on with the author in his life while he was doing this. I feel like that's the one we need to know a little bit more about Tom King. Or you find out what was going on in the world at the time. Is this political satire stuff? Blurry. Is this political satire stuff? Was what was going on in the world? And things like Wizard of Oz, you'll find out if you know the politics that was going on at the time, and that Dorothy had silver shoes, not ruby red slippers. It's all political. You know what I mean? It's all political statements and stuff about what was going on at the time in an artistic way, if you will, right? But my number one concern as I read this is, I didn't want to read this, but Josh is a friend. I said I would do it. And I kind of grew up with Adam Strange. I was thinking about, let me show everybody my Adam Strange books and let me get my stuff out. And the reprints I read when I was a kid. Adam Strange, the Atomic Knights, I would read in Strange Adventures that were my stepdad's uncles. I still have a bunch of those books. I had the Justice League where Adam Strange was in there. Adam Strange had a few miniseries with Infinity Incorporated. I did not get the 1990 Kubert brothers and whoever was writing it Adam Strange book. That's where they kind of went dark a little bit with the storyline. And then we had this, okay? The Strange Adventures. I think this was 12 issues. People love the art in it. It's two artists. One would do now. One would do flashbacks of the war on Ran with the, what were they called? I don't even want to open this, but I'm actually probably going to do a proper video because I actually took notes as I was doing this, right? But just to shorten it up, there's a war on Ran. And for some reason, Adam Strange and Leela, I think it's her name. I can't believe it. Like I said, COVID brain, guys. Anyway, they're on Earth. He's written a book called Strange Adventures talking about the war with these fierce aliens that showed no mercy, and that's all they do and everything. And if you don't know who Adam Strange is very Edgar Rice Burroughs 1950s sci-fi influence, that kind of thing. But he was a nobody on Earth. He's an archaeologist, I think, on Earth. He really got kind of popular. People started really liking him for the next generation when Alan Moore put him in Swamp Thing, had Swamp Thing land on Ran, the planet. But anyway, he's an archaeologist or something on Earth. And there's this mysterious beam, a Zeta beam, that picks him up, transports him to the planet Ran, and he becomes their champion, a la Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon. You know what I mean? John Carter, that kind of deal, right? He's their hero. He fights their big monsters, their gigantic demons and stuff like that. And of course, he falls in love there with Leisha, but the Zeta beam will wear off and he's returned to Earth. So now he has to try to maintain this relationship and figure out where the Zeta beam is going to hit so they can have their champion and stuff. And this went on forever, right? So it was just fun stuff, fun sci-fi pulpy stuff, right? Great stuff, right? They end up getting married and things go on, and he always had ties to the Justice League. Mark Waid even did a little story as a fill-in when Grant Morrison took a break from his Justice League run. He's always just been there. But then all of a sudden, I read this, and here's the problem. When you read Tom King, you're not reading a story. You're thinking it's Tom King. You don't escape into the story because it's a Tom King story. You're like, it's Tom King. He's the only writer I've ever seen where he's the center of attention somehow with the way he's writing. He's got a style that just doesn't flow. And he comes off. I don't know Tom King. I don't know a thing about him except supposedly he worked for the CIA and things like that, right? But this guy does not like heroes after what he did to Mr. Miracle. Mr. Miracle 12-issue miniseries and a few things. I've given him a chance. I laughed when people were saying this guy was going to be the next Alan Moore, right? But I gave Tom King and this story a chance that Tom King did not give Adam Strange. This is a hit piece on Adam Strange. I went into this clean slate. All right, let's see what we can do with the story. Let's do it on its merits. Let's read it. I gave him a chance, and it's not there. And he trolls them, right? So anyway, getting back to the plot, the biggest thing that I can tell you is that for whatever reason, they defeated the evil aliens that were coming after Ran. And they're probably going to be coming here to Earth, right? Trillions of miles away. That's the deal. He was so far into space that Ran in Earth, the distance is trillions and trillions of miles, an unfathomable amount of distance. And that's why the Zeta beam was so amazing, is that it can instantaneously do it. That's the only way he could get there, right? Despite the fact that he's friends with the Justice League and you have Thangarians with spaceships and all sorts of things. Superman right there and stuff. I'm sure somebody may have addressed it at some point, but the ways to do it, but he waited for the Zeta beam. And the man of two worlds. So anyway, he comes by, he writes Strange Adventures, he's doing book signings, and finally some fan comes up to him and is yelling at him in front of people. And you feel like this is Tom King's vision of people who read comics and stuff. The guy who was there for the book signing talking to the author, he's like, I know what you really did. I know the war crimes you did. And all these things. And this guy ends up being shot dead with the same kind of laser rifle pistol that Adam Strange has. The guy ends up being dead after saying all that in front of people. And Adam Strange is like, Batman, I want you guys to investigate me because I didn't do it. And Batman hands it off after reading the book, hands it off to Mr. Terrific. And all of a sudden, Mr. Terrific, who's the third smartest man in the world, is the guy who's asking questions and doing the investigation and stuff like that. And he's not acting like the third smartest man on the planet. That's the whole deal. There's the characterizations in this are ridiculous. You're taking these characters. Mr. Terrific's guy's been around for 30 years, 60 years with old Adam Strange here, and nobody's acted in character. So the big investigation that they're doing is what happened to Adam Strange's daughter, because he said she died because of the aliens that are coming here to Earth. And they're saying she's actually alive. Now they're saying he did war crimes on a planet trillions and trillions and trillions of miles away. And that's why I could not get into this, right? That's the whole deal. Is like, this was just an assassination piece on Adam Strange. This was just taking a hero and not liking heroes. You know what I mean? Like, and that's how Tom King ends up making it about himself, is what it feels like. I don't know Tom King. I don't know his history, his past, but if you keep reading his superhero stuff, it's like he comes off like in the CIA, there was like a James Bond kind of guy, right? And Tom King didn't like him, so he trashes him in the books. It's like he's projecting or transferring feelings is what it feels like. Or he comes off like I said, I don't know him. This is just an interpretation. Or Tom King comes off like he's just jealous of all these heroes because he's not one or something. He comes off very self-loathing. And I'm like, how does a guy write comics and stories and and you're wondering what the hell is wrong with him? But yeah, this is just an assassination piece. That's the whole deal. The whole goal of this story. There's no subtext here. There's no political statement. No. Even though it's about crimes and war crimes and things like that, there's no subtext for the real world or anything, right? It's just Adam Strange is a piece of shit, and I want to show people that he is, even though there's nothing there to, in his past in reality of 60 years of stories that make you wonder that. So yeah, when you read this, you end up just wondering what the hell is wrong with Tom King. That's how it comes off. Like, what the hell is wrong with the guy doing it? Adam Strange is just so pointless. Adam Strange has been a character for 60 years that you're just sort of like, why'd you pick him to do this? All right. This would have worked if it was a Booster Gold story. Booster Gold. Yeah, I'm pulling some Booster Gold hate in there. Booster Gold has that origin story where he should have been a villain, right? Everything he does is about being famous, and he stole the armor, the Legion flight ring, and he stole a time travel machine. He was a failed sports star, college sports star and stuff, right? He's got all that stuff is in there. You just picked the wrong character in there. And my biggest thing is that I couldn't get into it. I was like, how in the hell do you try to hold somebody accountable for war crimes when those laws don't apply to a planet trillions of miles away? And that's why I couldn't get into it. I'm like, you're trying to hold them accountable for a place where there's no jurisdiction with two alien races, and you think you are so self-righteous that you can apply your morals and beliefs on two cultures, not just one. Yeah, I started having more questions because I can think. You know what I mean? Like, when I read this, and I'm not a fanboy of them, I can think. Now, if you guys have me on Instagram, a couple months ago, I actually found an article, and thank goodness I took a screenshot. But I found an article where Tom King was being interviewed, and I took a screenshot and I posted that screenshot on the Instagram. But Tom King in that interview said that he got into comics. He was able to get into comics. He got an internship with Paul Levitz back in the day because his mom is a high level CEO with Warner Brothers somewhere in there and stuff. And DC is owned by Warner Brothers and stuff, right? So that explains why Tom King, to me, gets work and stuff, and how he's ended up helping with a project or two of James Gunn and stuff like that is because of nepotism. So we'll see what happens from there, right? But how this stuff gets published, how people can enjoy Tom King stuff, blows my mind. You know what I mean? Like, I can forget the Bendis. There are people who are Bendis fans. You know what I mean? And I can kind of see that. Bendis has some writing here and there that is actually, pretty good. His powers. I always talk about he ought to do crime comics. I've had many people defend Daredevil, right? But once you get past his Daredevil, there's not a lot people can really defend, when they get in there. So even the Bendis fans are sort of like, well, this is good, but this was crap, right? All right, let's see what we have here. Yeah, Lana, thank you. Yeah, thank you, man. Yeah, today I'm definitely like milking the COVID brain thing. That's why I'm probably going to do a separate actual video on a few things. Tom King, I'm doing something new with Adam Strange. Also, Tom King, there's a war on Rand. Yeah, that's what I mean. There's nothing original in there. When I read Tom King, a lot of his stuff feels familiar. And I don't know if it's because of, I feel like I'm watching Robert Redford in 3 Days of the Condor, 70s movies, or I don't know. I feel like his stuff just, I don't know. Tom King is a very smart writer. He's the only person who's gotten people to pay to be his therapist. Yeah, I think I've said that with you before on live streams before. Here we go, therapy. The whole thing is character assassination. Yeah, that was the whole point. That's the whole point of the book. How can you have something in you to where your whole point is I want to take this character and I want to shit on him? You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to take the most pure hero and shit on your Silver Age. I mean, it just comes off this. He did. Nobody really talks about Strange Adventures anymore, right? So Tom King didn't make his mark on Adam Strange, but Tom King really. It's kind of like he exposes himself. You know what I mean? He wrote Heroes in Crisis, and that series made me sick. Yeah, I knew better than to read it. Well, Sheriff of Babylon and Omega Men were really good. I never thought deep about his writing. Heroes in Crisis was disappointing, as with Strange Adventures. Okay, Sheriff of Babylon, I don't think I've ever even heard of that. The Omega Men, I've had, of course, I've heard about that. Mixed. You're one of the people that likes it. There's other people that were sort of like, I don't know. So yeah, there's a mixed bag with the Omega Men. Sheriff of Babylon, I've never heard. But I've read half of his Vision work at Marvel. I had the trade. I got rid of it 2 weeks ago when I went to McKay's. I have the Mr. Miracle 12-issue miniseries that I stuck in on. I stayed with the whole series for 12 issues. Like, well, this is going to go somewhere. This is going to be something. No. And like I said, I've read some other Tom King stuff. There's Rorschach. I couldn't even finish it. I have the 12 issues, and I made it to around issue 7 or 8 or something, and I'm like, what is this? I don't know. It's sort of like somebody being clever and saying that they're artistic when they're not. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like a stoner acting like they're saying something really, really immaculate. You know what I mean? Like, here, this is the epiphany of all epiphanies, and then they just mumble and they say nothing. You know what I mean? Like, the topic is more fascinating than what they're saying. You know what I mean? Okay, Pal Costo is an Omega Man fan. Omega Man was good, but something was rubbing me the wrong way with his treatment of Kyle Rayner. Vision and Adam Strange showed me what was wrong. Got you. Yeah. He just does not believe people can be heroic and altruist and stuff like that. He just comes off as a very jaded individual through his writing. Okay, I don't know. Like I said, I actually took notes up through some of the chapters. Apparently, through chapter 8, I actually took notes. I do for the rest of them. So I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna read my notes because, like, I had a lot of comparisons with how the characters reacted with what Tom King. That I saw a lot of parallels with how some of the characters reacted the same way the readers probably were, right? But like I said, as a reader going in saying I'm going to give Tom King a chance, he did not give that consideration to the characters. What it felt like, you know what I mean? Like, all right, So I don't know why you would write heroes if you don't believe in them. You know what I mean? I can see you having a few characters. Like his Heroes in Crisis. I didn't read it, but I got the gist. There was a secret place that characters went when they were traumatized and all this stuff. I can see you having a few characters who get affected by these traumatic events, like putting their life on the line over and over. I can see how that can wear people down. I can also see people getting reckless and going the other way with it and stuff, right? But to constantly do that, you know what I mean, and to act like it's all heroes, no. Strange Adventures, if you want to do a character assassination, you need to know comics. You need to know these characters that are in the DC Comics universe if you're going to do it. And you can find characters that, their origin story or this happening in their past or this story, that would be an appropriate story. And I'm telling you, I'm being dead serious. Booster Gold is one of those characters. Some of those characters that kind of go to the dark side a little bit. You know what I mean? Not your anti-heroes, but some of the ones that have dabbled and gone a little too close, to the dark side. Characters where you have espionage squads like Martian Manhunter and when they were doing Justice League Task Force, the Legion of Superheroes has an espionage squad. I can see people going deep undercover and stuff like that, and having a problem coming out of it and stuff. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Tom King's ideas would work, but it seems like he doesn't serve the characters. You know what I mean? He comes up with an idea, and instead of like, who can I apply this idea to? He's just like, I'm going to shit on this guy. You know what I mean? So, whatever. All right. Oh man, keep the comments coming, guys. I got no problem discussing this. I was on the outside with Tom King, but he's been on the rebound for me lately. Penguin, Wonder Woman, Supergirl, and the Superman mini is great. That is Mike's Total Dragon channel. Okay, man. Out of all of that, I read the first issue of Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. I don't get it. And what's bad is I feel like the artists he works with, they freaking put their heart into it, man. Like the art, I feel bad for the artist doing all this work for a lot of these projects that sort of come out. And, Tom King obviously has his fans and people get it. And then that's it. You know what I mean? He writes the same story over and over and shows his mental flaws each time. Gotcha. All right. That's how I interpret him also. Right. So yeah, do not be afraid to tell what your favorite Tom King stories are. You don't feel like you really have to defend them, but just realize this is my interpretation, how other people feel also about Tom King. So you have maybe that's the magic of Tom King. He's a very divisive writer. I've heard people love his Batman, then they were like, he's been on it too long. Can he please get off? I read a few of those Batman, and I think his great downfall, people finally being willing to at least criticize Tom King. That's the word. That's a good word. Was when we were promised a Batman and Catwoman wedding, and they totally didn't do it after they went through all the advertising and the build-up and stuff, and then they just jerked the rug out from other people. I think that was the end. I think that was the end of a lot of people for it. Oh, here we go. Now, Gore Vidal, I believe you have told me that you enjoy Tom King. Morning, Tom King. Morning, Tom King woes. I liked his Batman and Rorschach books, The Vision as well. We'll be reading his Wonder Woman after first arc, liked his Supergirl. See, that's what I'm saying. Very decisive writer. I'm glad you popped up, Gore, because I remember you telling me in an email that you did like Tom King's writing and stuff, right? So yeah, that's where we're at with things with Tom King. Okay, here we go. Yeah, his Batman definitely went on too long. The pulling the rug out of the wedding rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Yeah. And see, and that's what's cool, man. You like Tom King, right? But you're not sitting here acting like this had nothing to do with anything. You know what I mean? Like, you're just like, yeah, that happened. And that's cool, man. That's just the acknowledgement that happened. Yeah, that people can, when you can be level-headed about this, you can actually have a conversation. That's awesome. What do we got here? Paolo and Gore. Gore Vidal, BKV should hire Tom King to write Saga. That's another book I just did not get on top of, right? So anyway, let's move on to what I have been reading, right? And like I said, I'm feeling a little rough here, so I'm gonna hang in there as long as I can. I'm not dying here. Nothing. Oh, what I've got here, the Comic Collector. Before we move on, his Batman got him. Are you serious? His Batman got him death threats, and he had to start having security at events. I don't know if I'd classify that as a good result. I did not know that. I believe you. I believe that happened, but it just takes me a minute to process that we're in a world where stupid shit like that happens. Wow. Over a comic book. Good grief, man. That's some Mark Waid 2018 crazy there. Okay. Facts, Paolo. Oh, that's good. Nice. Oh, man. Okay. Xerxes 73. I'm on my phone, so if I rip your name up, I'm doing your that big on my phone. I've been buying the new Black Canary. Figured he'd be better in a 6-issue series. Oh, now Tom King, I don't know how he's going to do on that Black Canary, but I've seen enough people butcher Black Canary. So, yeah, that's why I don't check those things out, right? I've been very hesitant of who writes Black Canary, going all the way back to Mike Grell. Okay, so I'm like, what? Why? You know what I mean? So it got so bad. DC. Oh, here we go. Continuing on the Tom King saga, there, the comic collector. It got so bad. DC died him off Batman. He had to finish his story in. Oh, okay, I got you. Okay. Yeah, he had finished story in a Batman Cat. Well, that's what that was about. The Batman Catwoman miniseries. I actually think I do remember seeing that he was finishing up his stuff in there, but I thought it was just due to sales. So that makes a lot more sense. Wow. That is crazy, man. That is crazy. Well, as I am saying here, I don't know Tom King. I'm talking about his writing, how he comes through on his writing and stuff like that. But I can honestly say that, he has not written anything that made me mad enough to think that he should be wiped off the face of the earth. You know what I mean? There is a writer I could say that about, but that'd just be petty right now, wouldn't it? Okay, so I do have some things to show that I'm reading now. This Tom King thing really got some people going. So when I make my actual video at some point of reading my notes and stuff of this, it's probably going to be brutal. Who knows? So before I get to the stuff I'm reading, I want to throw out there. I don't see him in the comments. I've been waiting, but at some point, I was talking about a few weeks ago about doing the X-Men Age of Apocalypse of the 90s, saying if people want to come on and talk about that event in the 90s. I'm kind of catching about some of that reading. Well, of course, with everything that's going on, I've slowed down. But Ponadius, I think that's his name. I hope I'm not butchering his name, has contacted me. He's going through his volumes of whatever he has of that. I told him to take his time because of this COVID, where I've had COVID and stuff like that. It's going to take me a little bit of time to go through all that stuff and get rid of this COVID brain. So I would say probably towards the end of the month, maybe April, we'll probably have a little live show where he comes on and we talk about Age of Apocalypse. Make sure you are subscribed, thumb up, hit that bell. If that's one of the things you're interested in, that will be getting done. And get a hold of me through Instagram if you want to jump on that. We got a little bit of time now and stuff, right? Like I said, that just so much stuff just got stopped. Yes, talking wrestling. I like the Von Erichs and bought wrestling mags as a kid. Yeah, I don't know if you popped in there and stuff, but I found quite a few from the 80s yesterday, talking about that from 85 to 85 to about 90 and stuff like that. So yeah, every now and then there'll be some wrestling talk. I liked Von Erichs and bought wrestling mags as a kid. Once Porcelain the Opera was made part of the drama, I bowed out. Too campy for me, but I still liked her music. Well, to continue with that, yeah, I totally get that. Because it was quite a shock. I grew up with Georgia wrestling, the TBS stuff, NWA, a lot of that regional stuff from the South and everything like that. Heard about this big WWF that was coming down. And in 1985, we finally got cable, real proper cable in 85, and we had the USA Network, and I got to see this stuff. We got MTV, and I got to catch up on the, rock and wrestling stuff. And I got to tell you, I don't know, it was entertaining, but it's like they had better production value. But over here, we had the real wrestling. You know what I'm saying? In my mind, they were two separate things, right? So that's why it never really bothered me for a while. And of course, as time went by, I was a Hitman fan with the Heart Foundation way before Hitman was anything. You know what I mean? So, and then seeing some of the guys that I've seen in the regional NWA, seeing Jimmy Hart, who I've met and have his autograph. Seeing Jimmy Hart going, that's where that dude went from the Memphis stuff, stuff like that. It was very cool. So, yeah, but I totally understand. It was much of seeing Roddy Piper in a music video was wild for me. And then seeing the Saturday morning cartoon stuff was wild. So I totally got it. What are you doing, Lester? All right. Read Prelude to the Darkest Night this morning. Good science fiction. Imagine a world without Jeff Johns. Oh, okay. I think I have those actual issues. Absolutely. Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing a Darkest Night review. I did a video years ago showing all my Darkest Night stuff, right? So, what have I been reading, right? As I have been like laid out on this very couch that you see here and stuff, right? Before I get to the comics that I'm going to show, right? I've sort of put all the comics to the side, and I've been reading The Destroyer, Remo Williams tune, right? There's a 1985 movie where you can kind of get the smell of what this book is about, okay? But basically, Remo the Destroyer is satire, sort of political and entertainment satire, okay? There are audio books that run from, I think there was like 100 and close to 160 of these books. These ran from 1971 to, I don't know, late to mid 2000s. And then they came back with the return of the Destroyer, Remo Williams, and did 5 or 6 books. But anyway, this concept came up in 1963, but the book didn't come out till 1971 by Warren Murphy and Richard Saper. The first 9 books, they had a magazine format with Marvel in 1989, I believe. I have all those books. There's a 4-issue miniseries that Walt Simonson did the art on, taken from the books. But anyway, basically the whole concept is there's a secret organization that when the president, an outgoing president, writes a letter to the next president, which is a tradition in real life, what they're really doing is letting them know that there's a secret organization run by one person, Harry Smith, called Cure. And if there's a problem going on that threatens national security, mankind, or the world, or whatever, you call them up on a landline, and he will secretly have his assassin go in. And this way you can get around the Constitution of the United States without saying that America is a failure, you know. And it's not as politically blasphemous as it says. It has a tinge of humor in here, right? So who is this assassin? This assassin is Remo Williams being trained by Chun. By the time we get this far into the book, issue 144 and stuff, Remo Williams is already a Sinanju master and stuff, right? But anyway, Chun is a Korean, and Sinanju is the village that he's from. And the martial arts that he has is known as the sun source. It's all about breathing and stuff, right? And all of a sudden your body can do amazing things, right? And all the other martial arts supposedly stole from this. This is what they call it, a sun source. This is the source, and each beam of light, you know, the ninjas rip this off and stuff, right? And you do things that are amazing. You can hear the creaking of somebody's finger right before they pull the trigger of a gun, so you know which way to dodge. You can, by breathing and becoming, you know, whatever, pure and stuff with your diet and everything like that, you can you know, climb with your hands up walls. You can fight the cold with the blanket of your skin. All right, and move super fast. Use your fingers to you know, crush people's skulls and things. There's issues where I think Remo was Remo parachuted in Russia, and he was taking out this whole, you know, little mini army. And they realized his name was, you know, Remo, and they started spray painting. Remo stands for ruin everything in Moscow overnight. So as he was parachuting, he had some coins and he was flipping them like this, and they were going through people like bullets and stuff, right? But anyway, that's his whole point. He's an assassin. And at the same time, when you read this, you know, they, you know, as he meets people and things like that, it's got some really funny stuff in it. Chun, the big assassin who kind of hates Americans and stuff like that, fell in love with our soap operas. And he actually ended up writing movie scripts. So they had a few things happen in Hollywood and everything like that. But it was good stuff. It was good stuff. I'd highly recommend the first 100 books and stuff, right? But these were all over the place when I was growing up reading them. If I had to guess, I'd say I probably read 60 of the books. I had some of the audio books and things like that, but you can get a good chunk of them. I think probably from like the 90s, the books in the 90s all the way up to like the 120s. They probably had, there's a bunch of audio books out there. So that's what I've been reading. I'm reading Holy Mother, where oh yeah, he's also the avatar for Shiva the Destroyer, which is why Shiva has been in my head since I was like 5 or 6 years old. They kind of touch on him being an avatar for Shiva, the destroyer, the goddess, God. He's an avatar. She can come through him every now and then. And this is the book I was excited about because they play on this. Who's the other? Kali. Kali has found an avatar, from what I can tell. I've just started the book. So you have Kali, and we're going to hopefully be seeing Shiva, the destroyer. Yeah, they mention it very briefly in places and stuff, right? It's sort of a plot line that hardly ever gets touched, but it's there. Okay. Yeah, the most important part I saved to the end. Oh, here we go. Mike's Total Dragon. I seen Remo Williams movie. I saw it in the theaters and was so disappointed because I was like, this book is magnificent. The first book is called Created, Remo, and that's what they were adapting. And I was just sort of like, no. They even had a TV show that had a pilot and maybe 5 or 6 episodes, I think. I can't remember. Good morning to UJLS Comics. Never knew about those books. They sound fun. The Remo books are fantastic. I highly recommend them if you want to play around. But like I said, they ran from 1971. I can't believe this concept was created by these 2 writers. And the way they wrote, from what I understand, as they got older, they talked less, whatever. But one guy would write exactly half of the book. They would agree on a page number. So one person would write half of the book. And it didn't matter if it was mid-sentence on that last page, right? If he wrote 70 pages, I wrote 70 pages, and he would actually stop mid-sentence, and the other guy would finish it. So yeah, apparently that's how they wrote stuff. They came up with the concept. The magazines were actually pretty good, and they're cheap. Like I said, I've got 2 or 3 number 1s and all 9 issues, and they actually had like some Steve Ditko in those books and stuff, right? So yeah. And they do have a cast of villains. It's worth kind of maybe doing a little Wikipedia search there just to kind of get the tone of it. But the tone is very cool. Yeah, anyway, that's enough of that. And I really don't follow, as popular as the books and as many books as they sold from 1971 to the late 2000s, I don't really run across people that are huge fans. Oh, I'm feeling a little rough. Okay, so this is what I've been reading, guys. I'm totally backing up and reading some of these Batman books, but this is Dark Allegiance by Howard Chaykin. Came out in the late 90s. I've had this book. I've got a bunch of these graphic novels, and a friend sent them to me a couple years ago. Some of them I've read, some of them I haven't. And I'm like, I really need to start thinning this out and see what's going on. But I decided not to really get into reading the synopsis on these. I wanted to come in and be completely surprised because it's Howard Chaykin. And Howard Chaykin, unlike Tom King, and also like Tom King, the like is that Howard Chaykin actually doesn't like superheroes, but he doesn't, unlike Tom King, he doesn't make it a secret. You know what I mean? So you never know what you're going to get. And he was doing social commentary before social commentary. So basically we have Bruce Wayne, who seems to be some sort of 1940s movie Mongol, teaming up with a guy who's much like Walt Disney, I guess. And the Dark Allegiance is, as it starts out, is the first thing we see is the Klan. And the Klan is ran by the Joker when they unmask him. That's not such a big secret. They kind of get to that right away. So yeah, a period piece, one shot that I have just started. And I stopped right here when we saw that the Joker is the one running the Klan, at least this part of the Klan or whatever, right? And I was like, oh man, this is going to be heavy stuff. So I'm like, well, you're going to finish it. And that's fine. That's fine. I like social commentary, but I have started to find, especially over the last 10 years, that a lot of the commentary isn't really balanced like it used to be, in my opinion. It really leans one way or the other. And I'm just sort of like, is this propaganda, or are we getting a story, to bring up a discussion or something, right? All right. That is good to know. The Chaykin book is very good. If I had read that first, I wouldn't have given my little ho-hum speech about it and stuff, right? So yeah, like I said, I breezed through it. That's what I'm getting at. When I got to that point, I'm like, okay, let's slow down a little bit here and stuff, right? But yeah, once we got to that page and I saw what he was doing with the Joker, I was like, all right, slow down, and look at it. The other things that I've revisited is, as I said a couple of weeks ago, for you the people that weren't there, you have lives and you watch other YouTube channels, so I'm sure a reminder isn't going to offend anybody. But on Amazon Prime is where I found it. But there is the Mike Mignola documentary, Drawing Monsters, very Hellboy centric and about his early days at Marvel, touches on DC a little bit. And what was wild is that this prestige format is what we called it. I'll have to back up and see what it was and stuff, right? But I have several of these, but this actually came out on the newsstand. Okay, this is the kind of books that you would find, um, only at comic book shops in the direct market. But it's Mike Mignola's Cosmic Odyssey, right? Jim Starlin written, 1988. I remember grabbing the first issue because I was more interested in Jim Starlin. And at this point, this is when Mike Mignola was sort of getting my attention. But, and I mean this in a way that, well, the only way to say it is that it's not anything, but it was like Mike Mignola's art is so ugly, you can't help but not look at it. You know what I mean? Like, it's fascinating in its ugliness. You know what I'm saying? At this point in time, right? At least that's how I felt. He was popping up on Superman. He did one of my favorite John Burns Superman stories where for the 50th anniversary, Superman ends up with kryptonite poisoning. And he gets on a ship with Hawkman and Hawkgirl, and they take him back to where the planet Krypton blew up. And he has this fever dream of what would have happened if all the Kryptonians were able to make it to Earth and more or less take over, and what his destiny would have been when Krypton blew up. It's fantastic, right? So he did World of Krypton and things like that. And all of a sudden, around this time, we get this Cosmic Odyssey. And I remember the guy from some Hulk and stuff. I think I was like 14 or 15 when this came out. But this is Kirby stuff. So it was Jim Starlin and it was Kirby stuff, right? But in that documentary, what made me think about pulling this out again, and guys, you can pre-order. It may, well, we're in March now. They're coming out with another hardback of this. It has a ugly cover, but it's hopefully will be printed really well. But these are, I think there's like 44 to 48 pages in this 4 issues prestige format. And as you can see, I've picked them up over the years as they came out, right? So it's New Gods, it's Jim Starlin, it's Kirby's Fourth World, it's Batman, it's Bug, it's Orion, it's Darkseid with the demon on a chain. And of course, it's early Mike Mignola. But in that documentary, he said for a year, so I'm assuming it took a year to draw these 4 issues. He had a year to draw these 4 issues. He said that he never really felt Kirby was a big influence on him, but he sat around with all this Kirby art and all these Kirby characters for reference and stuff for a year, and Kirby sort of gave him the freedom to do exaggeration in his art. And that's what led to Mike Mignola becoming Mike Mignola and leading up to his 90s Hellboy stuff. So, yeah, this stuff was very important. And basically, it's really interesting because what happens is that, real quick, Darkseid finds Metron. Metron is one of my favorite comic book characters in his chair, knowing all things. He finds him passed out, ends up finding out information that Metron had found something more powerful than Darkseid in the anti-life equation. So he goes to Highfather. They end up doing an alliance, and they pick out some heroes. Now, this is right after Crisis and Legends and Millennium. I was already getting burnt out on crossovers. You know what I mean? And I thought this was like some big crossover with this guy who draws Starfire very ugly at the time. You know what I'm saying? But the plot was very interesting because whatever the enemy is, he's figured out that the whole universe is all about gravity and all these planets, and like in real life, the gravity of all these planets and everything, they all play on each other and stuff. And somebody's going to try to blow up one of these 4 or 5 planets. And each hero goes out and they're there to find the bomb and to protect the planet so they don't blow it up. And if they blow up all of these planets, or even 2 of them or something like that, the universe will collapse on itself or something. Cosmic Odyssey, right? One of the heroes ends up failing, and it's because of his arrogance. Okay, you know what I mean? So one of the planets ends up getting blown up. So we'll just leave it at that. So I'm rereading that and I'm finding I really am enjoying it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it's the Kirby characters or seeing Mike Mignola, the artist at this point, right when he's discovering Jack Kirby, I guess, properly. I guess now that he's had to study him and stuff like that. The story behind it is really enhancing the story. Jim Starlin is Jim Starlin. There's going to be talk about he throws in some very adult themes in there and kinds of hide them in there, and it gives his stuff an energy, right? So I think is that all I'm reading? Yeah, that's where I'm at with my reading and stuff, right? So I'm kind of going back and forth as I can. Here we go. That explains how he developed his Kirby-esque style. Yeah, I highly recommend. I found the Mike Mignola drawing monsters documentary well worth watching. Some of the stuff I already knew just from like reading Hellboy and hearing interviews over the years. And then there's a few things they kind of glossed over. And then there's some things they went in depth that I never heard of. His guy Gardner is hilarious. Here we go. Bruce, let me back up here. Let me go in order here. Here we go. Oh, what is this? Bruce is a wasp and Alfred an anti-communist. Chaykin gets it. Oh, okay. So I'm just getting through that Dark Allegiance. I've yet to get to like the real meat of the matter. His guy Gardner is hilarious. Oh, awesome. Cosmic Odyssey has nothing to do with Mignola's work on Alpha Flight. Okay. So, I'd already seen Mike Mignola on like Hulk and Alpha Flight and things like that. I mean, I knew who he was and seen some of his art. The documentary really didn't get into his first comic stuff, and I'm assuming that's probably because it's too much work to find out who has the rights to all that Elric stuff and everything that he worked on. The Corm. He worked on the Corm stuff. It was, he had some good indie stuff he did after he left Marvel. And that explains his Kirby-esque style. Yeah, this was the book where I'm like, Kirby does it again, man. Does it again. Alex Ross even said some things about Kirby after he really got in there and looked at those early Fantastic Four issues, like specifically the Marvel's miniseries he did with Busiek, and seeing his artwork on like the Watcher, the first appearance of the Watcher and stuff. He started finding you can tell he was not a Kirby guy, and then all of a sudden he had to study Kirby a little bit and the excuse me, and the Galactus stuff. Excuse me, guys. I still got that COVID stuff going on. And here we go. Black Kiss Omni this summer. All right, guys. That is it this morning. Let's go ahead and tell you, I'm starting to feel a little bit like crap. I'm looking at myself and I'm like, yeah, you're going downhill. So I think I'm going to get off here. I'm going to finish my coffee. Make sure you read your comics. Be excellent to each other. Be careful out there. Make sure you're subscribed, like, and sub it. And I'm losing my voice. So guys, great to see everybody this morning. I actually enjoyed this. So, yeah, thanks for popping in. Read your comics. If you're watching on the rewind, definitely leave some comments on some of the topics we talked about today, see where we're going. And hopefully when I'm over this crap, we'll get a proper video or two at some point. All right, guys, later. Thank you, Paolo. Thanks, Gore. Thanks, Comic Collector. Great to hear from everybody. And later, guys.